Welcome back to Part-Time Gaming. This is a series where we analyze and rate video games from the perspective of a full-time working professional. My goal with this series is to give people with full-time jobs and busy lives like myself reviews of games that specifically analyze how compatible they are with the young professional's lifestyle. Today we're taking a look at Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. This is one of my absolute favorite games from my childhood, and I was incredibly excited to play through it again for this video. As a disclaimer, I am playing a modded version of the game on my PC that includes the DJE mod and a grass texture mod. I also increased the limits for things like number of hatcheries, dinosaurs, and dig teams allowed, and I set all dig sites as available so that I could have access to every dinosaur in the game, since that is, without a doubt, the superior way to play. As a reminder, this is not an in-depth review of the game. Instead, I will rate the game on a scale of 1 to 10 based on the following 5 criteria, all of which are being looked at through the lens of a full-time working professional. Session length, which is how long a general session needs to last to be satisfying. Game length, which is how many hours it generally takes to beat the main story of the game. Pick up and play, which is how easy the game is to pick up and start playing no matter how long it's been since you've played it. Engagement, which is how engaged your mind absolutely has to be while playing. And finally, frustration, which is how frustrating or not the moment-to-moment gameplay is. With all that out of the way, let's take our first steps into Jurassic Park. First up is session length. This is how long a general play session needs to last to be satisfying. Can you play the game for 20 minutes to an hour and feel like you've made progress, or do you need to play for multiple hours to make any meaningful progress in the game? For JPOG, that really depends on what mode you're playing in. JPOG really has 3 main modes: Operation Genesis mode, missions, and exercises. There's also a Site B mode, but I'll discuss that later. The missions and exercises are short levels that are used to teach you how to play the game, or as short levels that test your skills with the game mechanics, usually in the helicopter or the safari jeep. Most of these can be completed in 15 minutes or less and are great for short play sessions. The Operation Genesis mode is the main game mode. This is where you build your very own Jurassic Park from the ground up. For the most part, this mode is great for shorter play sessions that leave you feeling like you actually accomplished something. Whether it's building a new enclosure or sprucing up a more neglected area of your park, or releasing a herd of dinosaurs. There are multiple things that you can do that don't take up a ton of time. Each of these activities is satisfying to complete, and if you only have time to hop on and off real quick, there's almost always something that you can accomplish in that time. The only part of the game where this doesn't apply is in the early days of a new park. Once you build your park entrance, your first enclosure, and your first food kiosk and bathroom, there isn't much to do other than wait for more dinosaur fossils to come in from your dig teams. You have to send out dig teams to bring back dinosaur fossils for you to extract DNA from, and thus make more dinosaurs. Your DNA amount must be at least 50% for a dinosaur to be able to create that type of dinosaur and release it into your park. In the early days, you will be doing a lot of waiting for DNA to be extracted, as well as waiting for cash to roll in so that you can buy more amenities, build more exhibits, etc. Basically, all management sim games have this problem at some point, and JPOG is no exception. Taking all of this into account, I give JPOG an 8 out of 10 in the session length category. The next category is game length. This is how many hours it generally takes to beat the main story of the game, not including optional side quests, collectibles, achievements, etc. For JPOG, I'm going to split this into 2 categories, one for the main Operation Genesis mode and one for the missions mode. I'm not including the exercises mode because it's really more of a tutorial on how to play the game. The parameter for beating the Operation Genesis mode is to get your park's rating up to 5 stars. You do this by creating high-ranking dinosaurs, keeping visitors happy, entertained, and safe, and building amenities and attractions in your park. In recording footage for this video, I achieved a 5-star park in just under 3 hours. This is a great amount of time for someone that doesn't have much time to play games to begin with. and the fact that each time you start a new Operation Genesis mode and you get a randomly generated island means that there is a high amount of replayability to JPOG. So even though it's a relatively short game mode, that doesn't mean you're going to be bored of it quickly. That being said, like I mentioned in the intro section, I modded the game so that I had access to every dig site in the game and an unlimited number of dig teams from the very beginning of my playthrough. This eliminated some of the time that would have come from waiting to research new dig teams and unlock new dig sites. But once you've played the game a few times and know what you're doing, this wouldn't add that much time to your playthrough anyway. It's also really up to you to decide how quickly you want to beat the game. If you want to take your time and really get every enclosure exactly the way you want it and enjoy just watching your dinosaurs live their lives and interact with each other, you can do that. Or if you want to speed build your park and optimize every inch of it to maximize guest satisfaction and dinosaur rating, you can do that too. It's completely up to you to pick the pace you want, and that is a huge plus. The parameter for beating the missions mode is pretty simple. You just complete the missions. Like I said before, most of these can be completed in 15 minutes or less, and there are 10 missions total. This means you can beat all of the missions in the game in about 2.5 hours on average. Once again, this is a great amount of time for someone that's already busy, and the fact that these are broken up into bite-sized missions makes them even better. That being said, they don't have the same amount of replayability that the main Operation Genesis mode does, so they do lose some of their charm pretty quickly. Overall, JPOG is a game that does not require a huge time commitment. You can certainly spend a lot of time soaking it all in, but you're not required to in order to experience most of what the game has to offer. I give JPOG a 9 out of 10 in the game length category. Next up is the pick up and play category, which is how easy the game is to get into. Can you pick the game up for the first time and learn it quickly? And if you go several weeks or months without playing it, will it take you a long time to relearn the controls and gameplay loop, or can you get back into the swing of things quickly? Although JPOG has a relatively simple premise, the execution of that premise is not simple. It's certainly not overly complicated, and even as a child I was able to learn it pretty quickly, but there is a lot going on that you need to keep track of, and it can take some time to get a grip on all the game's mechanics. There are quite a few menus that you will constantly be searching through to find what you want. Some of the more hidden menus include the Dinopedia, which is an in-game encyclopedia that contains general info on dinosaurs and their habitat requirements and star ratings, as well as info and tips on park management mechanics such as enclosures, diseases, and security. Every time I start a new game, it takes me a little while to get used to navigating the menus to easily find the info or section that I'm looking for. In addition to that, when you're new to playing the game, it can take a while to figure out how to build a good park. And by good, I mean a park with high stars, since what everyone thinks a good park looks like is extremely subjective. Part of having a 5-star park is keeping your visitors happy, and visitors are idiots. If they can't see a bathroom or burger joint within 10 feet of them at all times, they will not be happy about it. And they'll let you know about it too, in the form of an angry face floating above their heads as they walk around. It isn't entirely obvious when you first start playing the game how many amenities you need, like bathrooms and rest areas, as well as benches, trash cans, and cleaning staff. Your park will quickly become filthy if you don't hire a small army of cleaners once you start getting a steady number of visitors on your island. You have to treat your park as if your visitors are always within minutes of dying from starvation or exposure. It takes some experience playing the game before you get a feel for all this, and I haven't even talked about your dinosaurs' happiness requirements. Unhappy dinosaurs cause unhappy guests, which brings down your park's rating. You have to do a little trial and error to figure out how big enclosures need to be, how many food sources you need, and how many dinosaurs you can shove into one pen before they get overcrowded. Learning how to balance the needs of your dinosaurs and your guests, as well as how to navigate all the menus and build a park in an efficient manner, will take you some time and effort. And you'll have to take a little bit of time to get a feel for it all again each time you take a break from the game for a while. I give JPOG a 4 out of 10 in the pick up and play category. Next, we have the engagement category. Are you able to play the game sort of zoned out, or do you need to be completely focused the entire time you're playing to avoid disaster? Sometimes after work you don't really want to think too hard about, well, anything really, and video games are no exception. JPOG requires quite a bit of concentration for the most part. You'll have sick dinosaurs that are in need of medication, visitors asking for yet another bathroom, fossil teams to check in on, upgrades to research, dead dinosaurs to replace, twisters to clean up after, and more. Running a theme park on an island full of dinosaurs requires a lot of attention, and the never-ending notifications you'll get from your message system will be a constant reminder of that. There will almost always be something that requires your attention, and ignoring these tasks can be disastrous. All it takes is one sick dinosaur escaping their enclosure and devouring your guests to knock your park's rating down a star or two, not to mention the financial repercussions of guest fatalities. That's not to say the game is always hectic. There are these tranquil little moments that happen a lot when playing JPOG that really capture the magic of the Jurassic Park movies. Sometimes it's nice to take a minute and just look at the dinosaurs in their newly created enclosure and watch them live their lives. Whether you're watching a pack of Parasaurolophuses run around playing together, or watching a Spinosaurus drink from the river you created, there's something so peaceful about just seeing your dinosaurs interact with the world you've built. And there's also Site B mode. This is a mode where you can create dinosaurs on an island without any fences or guests and just let them roam free. The dinosaurs will form herds and claim territories around the island, and generally will just go about their business. It can be surprisingly relaxing to watch a lone Tyrannosaurus Rex search around her territory and finally find a nice meal in the form of a Gallimimus that strayed a little too far from the group. These little moments are JPOG's saving grace. If the hectic moment-to-moment gameplay wasn't interspersed with these little slices of dinosaur life, then the game would get overwhelming and tiring very quickly. For these reasons, I give JPOG a 6 out of 10 in the engagement category. And finally, we have the frustration category. Will you spend a lot of the time you're playing mad or annoyed? If so, are there different difficulty modes that help with this? I've already touched on the most frustrating part of JPOG, and that is all the constant notifications you'll be getting about something that you need to attend to. But even then, this is a built-in game mechanic that is functioning the way it's supposed to, and it's not like it's game ruining. You can just ignore the messages if you want to. Granted, you'll probably have a dead dinosaur, or worse, dead guests if you do ignore them, but hey, at least you get the choice. When I consider what makes a game frustrating to play, I'm really thinking about things that make you feel like you have no control. Like a turn-based RPG where the chance for you to miss your attack is just a little too high, and you feel like you have no way to improve your strategy because of it. In JPOG, there isn't anything really like this. There are just little annoyances that pop up pretty frequently. In that sense, it actually is a pretty immersive management sim, but when you're playing a game, you're not always looking for realism. I use games as entertainment and as a form of escapism. When I'm trying to forget about the problems of the real world, I don't want to be thrust into another world where I'm listening to guests complain. I have to listen to clients in my real career complain sometimes, and I hate it. So it's personally very annoying to have to experience the same thing sometimes in JPOG. The good news is that these frustrations within the game aren't overwhelming. They're certainly there, and you have to deal with them. But the moments where you're just in the zone, watching your dinosaurs gather around the watering hole, more than make up for the annoying moments. I give JPOG a 6 out of 10 in the frustration category. I've purposely been a little bit hard on JPOG for my review. I want to give an honest and candid overview of the game so that busy, tired individuals know what they're getting into before they give it a try. That being said, I absolutely adore this game. It has such a special place deep in my soul that's born from my love of Jurassic Park, dinosaurs, and video games in general. I would recommend this game to literally anyone that asked, and it's an experience that I think everyone can get something out of. For that reason, I will continue to come back to this game again and again when I want to spend a little time building my very own Jurassic Park. And then I'll delete all the fences and watch my dinosaurs devour all my guests, because that's the natural thing to do. Taking everything I've discussed into consideration, my overall score for JPOG is a 6.6 out of 10. But it's a 10 out of 10 in my heart. This has been Part Time Gaming. Thank you, and God bless.